Well, everyone, what we've done now is a quantum mapping exercise on your core passions. And I've now written for each of you a core passion statement. Your core passion statement has the energies of 3 of your key passions. The first one, the first word that comes up would have described the what of who you are. The second word that comes up would be the how, and the third word is the why. And so for each of you, when I put it all together and I said, how would you like to spend the rest of your life expressing your core passion? And when you get a 10 out of 10 response from here, you know that's it. Now people have asked me this question, does this change? The answer is no. That core passion of yours will not change. What will change is the expression of it as time goes on. So this year, next year, the first 10 years, you may express it one particular way, and then after that it may evolve. But the essence of your core passions, in terms of the vibration of what's here, that will not change, because that is who you really are, expressing your highest potential. So then the next question is, how do you do it? Which is what we're going to come to a little later. And initially, in the early days when I did this exercise with people, they had a contrast of emotions. Extreme excitement, exuberance, and then deep sadness and frustration. The exuberance, yes, this is what I want to do. The frustration, how am I going to do it? It looks impossible. You know, it's like finding Mount Everest and being so excited to see it, and then going, how am I going to do that? Oh my God. So, but it's not insurmountable. Before Edmund Hillary, people thought Mount Everest could not be climbed. He climbed it. Now, so many people do it. And you actually have to book years in advance to go for a trek on Mount Everest because there's so many people doing it. So it's not insurmountable or difficult. You just find your way around it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to switch gears. And just like the world is full of duality and polarity, we have to do that with these exercises. So your core passions is one side, in terms of positive, love, life, the greatest expression of you. We're now going to swing polarities and look at your deepest, darkest fears, doubts, and your unconscious anchors. Now let me talk about unconscious anchors. Unconscious anchors are the energy of what limits you, that sits running in your unconscious mind that you are completely oblivious to. The metaphor is like this. Imagine you are a boat and you have some anchors. When you are a boat, you've got anchors underneath the water. You can't see them. When you're looking around the boat at this level, you can't even see that the anchors are attached to your boat. What happens is you can get motivated and you go fuel up the boat, put a new engine in, give it a new coat of paint, and set an intention. You're going to go in this direction, and then you fire up the boat, and what happens? The anchors go, you don't move. For some people, they get so excited, they generate so much force, momentum, that the boat moves. And it barrels along at a particular velocity. But what happens is the anchors bob up and down on the ocean bed. Then one fine day, something locks. When an anchor digs in and the boat's moving, guess what happens? Something breaks. And this is typical of what you see with people getting really excited, putting enormous amount of energy and drive into something, and there's this big growth, and then there comes a point in time where there's a crash and burn, where everything just falls in a heap. And you see that so many times with so many people all over the place, because they have not dealt with the unconscious anchors. So we're going to do a mapping exercise, and this mapping exercise is on 5 keywords. And when I map these 5 keywords, it will give me a very powerful spiritual map on where you sit energetically. And so we're going to use the same principle with the mapping. We're going to do these 5 keywords, and we're going to do that in this order. But again, let me explain to you how it works. The first one we're going to do is fear. Now, the word fear, F-E-A-R, okay, false expectations appearing real is one definition. But here's a better definition. Feeding expectations and actualizing reality. Feeding negative expectations and actualizing reality is a more accurate description of fear. I'm pretty sure you haven't heard that one before. But think about it. See, so fear is us basically feeding negative expectations into a situation as a result of previous negative experiences or imprinting or other people's stuff. And then when we feed a negative expectation, we actualize reality. That's what happens. So when you feed fear into something, it eventually happens in your life because you're putting so much energy into creating that reality. So it's much more than false expectations appearing real. So when we're doing a mapping exercise on fear, basically, how it works is this. Without thinking too much, as you look at the word fear, what's the first word that comes to mind? For a lot of people, it'll be this. Death. Then some people will say pain. Some people will say poverty. Some people may say dark, and so on. So you'll have those words around. Then, once you have anything between 6 to 8 words, if you have 5, that's okay too. Then for each one, you unpack it. So why do you fear death? Unknown and pain. Dying is painful because we see lots of examples of that. You know, people taking 3 years to die in excruciating pain, in cancer on the bed, that kind of stuff, etc. So, why do you feel pain? It's uncomfortable. And why would you feel pain? It's debilitating. So you draw this map, and once you've done this whole map, you sum it up again in 3 words. So you look at it, and you look at it, sum it up 1 word, and do it 3 times, so you have 3 keyword summaries of this whole thing. You write it out somewhere. Then you do the number exercise. The number exercise is important because it's intuitive. It takes you out of thinking. And the intuitive takes you down into the unconscious area. And that's why I use the number exercise. And you pick a different number between 100 and 200. And then you flip that into a picture or an image, just like that. Once you learn how to do it, it's very, very simple. And whatever you come up with, the more bizarre the better, you write down on another part of the page. And the intuitive exercises give you metaphors that are very powerful, that give you a whole different perspective of what's going on here. Because one of the issues we have is that we've already got preconceived ideas of fear and all these words because of the language patterns that we use and what we're used to in terms of our experiences. But what goes on the unconscious level has a whole lot of other dimensions feeding it. For example, a lot of people's fears come from past lives. A lot of people's fears come from other sources. There could be other energies involved in feeding those fears. We don't know that. So this helps bring it out. So this is the general exercise, and here are the words I'd like you to do a mapping in this order. So do them in this order, And then what I'm going to do is come round and help you get the clarity on all this. So the more of this we do, the greater the skill you will start to develop in terms of being able to do this for yourself. And one of the interesting things is this. The first exercise at the top level is to do this. Once you've got your 3 summary words on fear, you then do a map on each of those 3. Just like your 3 core passions, we're doing a map on each of your 3 core passions. And with Sylvia and Joe now, they've done the map on the first word of their core passions. And just from that word already, they've both got clarity in terms of what to physically do. You see, you don't find the way to climb Mount Everest just by looking at the top. You go to the bottom and you then do some exploratory work on it. And so that's what the next level exercise will do, which I call chunking down. So once we've got fear, and you've got your 3 keywords, we're going to map those as well. Once you map that, you get another level of revelation in terms of what's involved here. So from here, I will be able to write a script. And the script will describe perfectly the program running in your unconscious mind on fear and what's driving it. And then once we see this, we can see what can be done about it. But all these words that you have on this map here will have a significance somewhere as well. And I can't show it to you until I have a full example up here to look at in terms of what it's like. So we may do that a little later. But here's the exercise we're going to do first at this point in time. And these are the words that I'd like you to do this mapping on. And I'm doing this right up front before lunch so that we've got a framework of what to work on the rest of today and tomorrow. And then I'll give you a whole lot of teaching around abundance and manifesting and where the world's going, and we can put a whole lot of things in context. Then when we're finished, you're going to walk out of here this weekend with a completely different view of the universe, the world, and your life. And it will fulfill a principle that I talk about, and that is this. Your perspective on your position determines your power. So your perspective on where you are, how you see where you are, determines your power, what you can and can't do. And so once you shift your perspective from a limited world view of where you are to, let me rephrase it. When you shift your perspective from a limited local view of where you are to a world view of where you can be in context with the universal view of what's going on in the entire universe and what Source is doing ultimately, which is very, very simple. Love goes out from itself, goes on its journey, returns back to itself. So the evolution of life and everything in the universe is love just returning to itself in one big cycle and journey. So when you're able to walk out of here with a holistic, universal perspective on life and be able to take that down into various levels, dimensions to your local life here and see how it can expand in your world, you then can see how you can transcend your local world and live a life beyond your dreams, like heaven on earth. Then it's all about you just taking the steps in doing it. So this is the first step here. If you don't do the work here at this level, you will forever be limited. I'll say this again. If you don't do the work at this level, you will forever be limited. Because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing expecting a different result. And many, many people go and explore every option in one dimension, the one that they know that is obvious. Nothing changes. And then when they still continue to invest time and effort in that area that's obvious, producing no results, that definition is insanity. quote by from Benjamin Franklin. So, you cannot solve a problem from the dimension it was created, Albert Einstein. So if you've got problems here, don't try and find a solution here. You find a solution outside. And a biblical principle is, as above, so below. And the root of every human problem is first spiritual, expressing itself in an emotional root linked to an experience. Say it again, the root of every human problem is a spiritual seed expressed in an emotional root in an experience, in this life and in previous. So when you understand that and you shift that, then all of a sudden the shackles come out and you can have freedom in moving around. So here are the words that we're going to do. The first one is fear. That's one. The second one is money. This one's really powerful, money. Because once I write the script describing the limiting belief on money in your life and how it's vibrating, for you to just see that's very powerful. When I do that for people, everyone goes, oh my God. Because this is, big aha and realization. The third one is death. Because until you come to grips with what this is, you really don't know how to live. To truly know how to live, you have to know how to die. 4, we're going to go love. 5, we're going to go God. We're going to do some more maybe tomorrow on some different topics. But the beauty about 2 days is I've got time to go into this in depth with you, which is going to be beautiful. So if you'd just like to start this exercise, this will take a little while, and we might do it for say half an hour, have a break for lunch, and if you don't have time to finish it before lunch, doesn't matter, we'll continue this later. Then over lunch, we'll get the lamp out, I'll get the HeartQuest monitor out and measure your health condition, and then we'll talk about a holistic approach to life in terms of how everything works. And this afternoon, we'll do some practical exercises outdoors. Enjoy the sunshine, some grounding, some breathing exercises, and we'll do some meditation as well today before we finish. So that's the plan in between a whole lot of other teaching that I can unpack for you. So if you'd like to commence that, we'll come back.